I'm still getting myself together here. You do it to me every time. Well, I'm old. Get over it. Good morning, afternoon, whatever. He's made his mission in life to push every button, including mine. Hope everybody's having a great day. I know that there's been some terrible storms race through parts of the U.S. overnight and part of today. So hopefully everybody is safe. I saw a couple of people have posted themselves safe, so thank heavens for that. So we're thinking of you. We've been watching the storm forecast, and it looks like it's terrifying. I can't even imagine being in a tornado. Hurricanes are scary enough. Tornadoes would be terrifying to me. I want to say hello to a few people. Brenda Owen, good morning, sweetie. And Karen Jones, hello. Ann Davis, hello. Nice to see you on here. Linda Safranco. Oh, goodness. I just commented to Renee that I'm glad you still had power because I saw your name pop up. So hopefully you're safe. And to Mary Amos. Hello, sweetheart. Deanna Swindlehurst, hello. And who else? And Patsy Justice. Hello, Patsy. It's nice to see everybody here. We have some really cool giveaways for you today. Something really special. With spring coming and with spring coming and typically we all paint Christmassy and festive things all year round. I thought it'd be fun to include some really cool products, and one of them is Decoart Starlight Varnish. So we have a bottle of Starlight for each of our winners. Plus we have a set of Decoart's designer series brushes. So we have 3 sets of those to give away today, which don't often get Decoart brushes, but it was so exciting to get some goodies from Decoart. And we have a few other little fun things that we're tucking in there. We have some great goodies from Tombow, of course. I love my Tombow stuff. So we have some great goodies from Tombow, plus we have some really cool little doodads and gadgets that we're tucking in. We got a new pin for the Tracy Creates website for my Canadian friends. And we have a new pin for my friends in general. So we have some really cool stuff going out this week. So in order to get your name on the wheel, all you got to do is join in the chat, press all the buttons, and just join in the fun today and in the conversation, and meet and make some new friends in the chat. So if you guys are ready to get started on our project for today, I didn't even talk about that yet. Mouth is running over. The project that we're doing today is a home decor piece. It's actually a 2-piece set. So we're going to do 1 piece this weekend, and then we're going to do the second piece next weekend. It's called Parfumerie Aux Fleurs, which essentially means perfume of flowers. And today we're going to be doing the violets, which are, I just think it's a flower we don't often paint, and I thought this would be a fun one to do. And a nifty vintage perfume bottle. But the fun part about this is, one, I've got a really simple way for painting these flowers. We have an unusual color palette. I'm using something a little outside of my normal wheelhouse. We're using a color called Thicket and Aloe. It's a really pretty combination. It gives her a nice smoky, dusky look, and I really like it. It has a nice vintage tone to it. So we're using that, and then we're going to do this really fun Victorian style striped background. I'm going to show you how to do that, and then we're going to make it look really vintage. So if you guys are ready to get started on Parfumerie Aux Fleurs, so am I. Press the button. A useful button. I love this piece. I love this background. I love the effects that are in this. This one is just so much fun. Kathy Williams from Stormy, Tennessee. Geez, I hope everybody's safe. Oh, I just, Elizabeth, that's very sweet. Actually, I have, my asthma started acting up very early this morning, so I'm fine. Just a little, I don't know, I sound a little bit wet and gargled, but it's just a little bit of asthma. That's all. I'm fine. I hit my puffer. I'm good to go. Good morning, Debbie Cole. Good to see you on here, hon. And Jerry Zoppa. Hello, sweetheart. And Ramona. Nice to see you guys. Good heavens, everybody's here. Kim Ish. Hello. And Serena Copley from North Carolina. My goodness, everybody's here today. So good to have you all here. So this one has a few really fun little techniques involved in it. And one of my favorite things about this is, one, it's very girly. I'm okay with girly. The other thing I really like, I love this sort of Victorian stripe going in the background. And then these, I guess they are wood violets, well spotted. We have wood violets all over the place here. It's the provincial flower. And then we have this fun little glass bottle. I went with something really simple. This is not a difficult piece to paint. If I were to classify it at a skill level, I would say it's beginner to intermediate. So it's a fun one to paint. We're going to incorporate a bunch of different things, a little bit of stenciling, a little bit of stroke work, some lettering. We're going to do a quick faux finish, getting this really vintage look. And then we're going to use stencils to do a bunch of little details and whatnot in here. So I think you're going to have fun with this one. I just really think these are pretty. They'd look so cute in a bedroom or in a bathroom. And it's an easy one to adapt. So you could change out the flowers. Now the one next week that we're doing is done with daisies, and I adjusted the color in the background. I used a color called Gentle Heather. So it has more of a pink tone. And then, simple little daisies just to keep everything really light. So it's a very pretty combination. You could do them both in purples. You could do them both in pinks. You can change up that color in the background very easily, and you can change up the flower to almost anything you want. So it's a fun one to do. It is not difficult paint, but certainly a lot of fun to paint. So this is what we're going to be doing today. Going to be playing. And the first thing we're going to do for this is to develop that background, which means doing these stripes. And I've got a really easy technique for doing those stripes. So we'll put this off to the side. Now I have, this is an 8x8 art panel, just a wooden panel. You can get these at your local Michael's store. You can find these in dollar stores. They're actually really easy to find. And this is an ideal size, especially for home decor. They don't take up a lot of space, and it's easy to do them in sets because they're a little more compact. So this one is going to be super simple to do. So my base color for this is warm white. Now, there's two ways to do this background. You can put down a coat of the gray that we're using for this one, which is Gray Storm. You could put a coat of Gray Storm down and then put the warm white over it so that when you sand, you'll have some of the gray showing through. That will give you a slightly heavier looking background, but still very pretty. I wanted to keep this one a little more light, so I just went with warm white. So when I put it on so that I have lots of vertical stria, lines in the finish, and it's just one coat. Once it was completely dry, I gave it a light sanding and then wiped off all the dust. So our step next, I'm going to turn this sideways because I want to keep all of those lines running vertically. So I'm going to tear off a 1-inch painter's tape, and I'm going to put it on my surface like so. And I'm not burnishing it, I'm just pressing it into place. I'm going to cut a second strip, and I'm going to butt it right up against the first one, keeping it straight. This one I'm going to press firmly into place, and then I'm going to take that first one off. And this one moves like this. Butt it up against that one on that side. Press it into place. Make sure that one taped down really nicely. Now you need another strip. And we're going to place that one. And that one is going to get taped around. And you're going to take off this strip. And you just continue doing this until you have tape all the way across. This is just the easiest way. Instead of measuring off with a ruler so that you have stripes all the way across, this is just the easiest method to do this. So now we have 1-inch stripes all the way across our piece. Just like so. Et voila. So now we have our board with the vertical lines running in the same direction as the brush marks. Now the piece that I had originally torn, I'm going to keep down here because we're going to use that a little later on. So once you have this tape down, you're going to do this. You're going to take either a brayer, small brayer, or you can use a paint bottle to do this if you want, but you want to press that tape down really well. Comme ça. Now, I know you've heard of using things like matte medium or all-purpose sealer. I'm going to show you a really neat little trick. The tape that I'm using, this one here, this is a 3M safe release tape. This one has a water-activated adhesive in it. So a little bit of moisture is not necessarily a bad thing. So you can take just a little bit of Joe Sonia's or a little bit of water, and not a lot. You just need the brush to be wet, not dripping. And just lightly brush the edges of the tape, like so. And then press it again. This works great for small surfaces. So then we're going to take my heat gun, and I'm just going to make sure that the surface is dry. So what happens when you brush a little bit of water or a little bit of glaze onto the edges of the tape is that it activates that adhesive. And when it does that, it seals the edge of the tape so that you don't get any bleeding underneath. So now we're going to use a stencil brush, and our base color for this, for these stripes, is wisteria. I love this. It's such a slightly grayed out purple. It's just elegant and pretty, and it pairs really nicely with the two purples that we're using in the flowers. So we're going to take a little of that wisteria on a stencil brush, and we're going to stencil just like that. Now it's going to give you all kinds of swirl marks and textures. It's going to be darker in places and lighter in others. Et voila. And this is what we want. We don't want a solid stripe. Shannon Riley, glad to hear you're feeling better. You had a tough week, my dear. I'm glad you're feeling better. So, a little bit of that wisteria. It's going to look a little meh at first, and that's okay. Just, you can afford to be a little more generous with the paint. Just like that. I love this because you don't end up with these perfect lines. You end up with nice clean lines, but not perfect. Oh my goodness. People all over the place are getting stuck in traffic and stuck in bad weather. Just get home safe, Lori. Yeah, we have a dollar day sale on the website for the e-patterns. So we've got a bunch of select patterns that are $2 a piece. And we're going to, that's only for until tomorrow morning. And then we're going to change them and they're going to have some different ones on there. And we still got the kits are still on sale for one more day. Da-da-da. Okay, I think I'm happy with this. As I said, we're not looking for perfection. We just want some color on there. So at this point, you're going to dry it well. Hello, Anne. Anne Fogg, nice to see you here. There we go. So, what I love about this is this. It gives me an opportunity to show you how to pull tape so that you get the best result. So whenever you're pulling tape off of a painted surface, fold it back on itself, 45-degree angle, and keep the tape as low as possible and pull this way. By doing this, it reduces the amount of surface tension on that fresh paint so that you don't get the paint pulling off in these stripes. Particularly helpful if you're painting on MDF or if you're working on canvas. Sometimes you can, if you pull it at too sharp an angle, like straight up or not far back enough. Oh, come on. It's being stubborn here. There we go. 45-degree angle. Pull it back at this angle. Look at how nice and clean those stripes are. And it doesn't pull any of the paint off of the surface. You also don't get any cut marks. Oh no, there's a whole bunch of kits on. So there we go. 45-degree angle. Reduce that surface tension and you get nice, clean lines. I like this method because it gives you almost a fabric look when you're on there. Now get this one last stripe off and all the little bits that I missed. Here we go. So again, 45-degree angle, keep the tape low. If you pull straight up, you run the risk of pulling the paint underneath. Joson, does the Green Frog Painter's tape work the same way? Yes, it does. It is a water-activated adhesive, or a moisture-activated adhesive, I should say. There we go. So look at that. We've got nice, clean stripes. Very nice clean stripes. Look at that. Nice and crisp. No furring, no fuzz, no pulling. Everything looks really good. So it's really dry. So here's what we're going to do. We've got the vertical brush marks in the white paint. So I'm going to take a sanding sponge and I'm going to sand it vertically. Nice light pressure. We're not looking to sand right through this paint. We just want to smooth it out. So there we go. Wipe off that little bit of dust that's created. So by giving it that light sanding, it exposes some of those brush marks underneath. And we get this really nice finish. I love this look. It's almost like a raw silk. Gives you a nice raw silk look. So this next part is just fun. I do love a ragged edge. I love that chippy paint look. But I didn't want to use black because it's a little too harsh for this type of finish. It would be too much of a contrast. So I wanted to soften it out a little bit. So I used a little bit of storm gray or gray storm. I keep wanting to, yeah, gray storm. I misnamed that paint all the time. Ranks up there with like that felt pen thing. These things are absolutely fabulous. I buy them like 300 at a time. No, Deanna, they should be on the website, although I haven't looked to see if that's been updated yet. But if they're not, the Canadian one will run. So we're going to put a chipped edge all the way around the outside. So I'm using a rigger loaded with that gray storm. And we're going to put a chipped edge. Now you can do this as thin as you want, as thick as you want. It can be as busy as you like or as subtle as you like. It doesn't have to be over the top. So I'm just rolling this brush along to put in that chipped look with the gray. Now the gray color is also the color that we're using for the lettering. So just to keep everything in that same family. Hi, Tina and Vera. Hello. And Carolyn Edwards. Okay, Deanna, the Canadian site hasn't updated yet, but it will. It's set up to do all of those patterns too. So it'll likely be updated once we're done here this afternoon. They're going to run the same sale, just sort of step them off a day later. So it's a big job doing that for 2 websites. So here we go. So all the way around. Such a pretty look. I have a thing for this chipped paint thing. I love the look of it. I love this color, this wisteria. I don't do a lot with purple. I typically stay away from cool colors. So it's unusual for me to use this type of a color palette, but I'm really enjoying it. Having a lot of fun with more of the pastel tones. There we go. So we have... No, our post office is no longer on strike, Wanda. And things are slowly getting back to normal. For the most part, stuff that's shipping out of here and going to the U.S. has been sailing. We've been using Purolator for most of it. So other than things that are shipping through letter mail, like stencils and whatnot, but larger packages are going through Purolator. Anything over £1 has been going through Purolator. It just takes a while for the postal system. It's just slow. So there we go. I love this look. I just think this is so, so pretty. Elsie, Country Bear is awesome. They do a great job. The owner is such a nice guy. He's such a nice guy. Oh, I love Normal too. Especially when it comes to the post office. Normal works. There's my girl, Miss Deb. So we're going to put a little bit of a wash around the outside edge of this. before we transfer anything on. I'm going to grab a nice big angled shader. Got a nice big 3/4 here. And a little bit of asphaltum. We're going to use it very sparingly. And there's Mary Galliado. Hello, sweetie. So, oh yeah, I'm a fan. So I'm just going to put a light float of heavily thinned asphaltum all the way around the outside edge. And this is part of the reason I like the brush marks in the background, because they sort of catch this color really nicely. And it's a very watery float. I'm not looking for, perfection. It's very watery. It doesn't have to be perfect by any stretch of the imagination. And one of the things I love about this, when you're doing this finish, is look at how that float travels. Because of all those vertical brush lines that are in there, it gives you a really nice aged appearance at the edge. And I'm using it's very washed out under these lights, but it's a soft float. Not a ton of color. So I'm going to dry this real quick, and then we're going to repeat that just a little. Brenda, I agree. Deb's new stuff is awesome. She's creating just the coolest and the cutest things. If you get a chance to, folks, go over to Deb's website. I mean, she's, for now, she's only shipping in Canada. But she has a manufacturer in the U.S. that is shipping some of her stuff for her. Absolutely phenomenal. So go and check it out. I'm pretty sure she's got a link to her U.S. supplier. But her new surfaces and her new designs are just so stinking cute. So if you live in Canada, go and check her out. She's got just the cutest new designs. I get to see them first. And I blame these on her. I was completely blocked. So I'm just doing a second quick white light float all the way around the outside edge. I just want this to sort of have that little rustic look to it. Look at that. Nice and soft. Hi, Cindy. And Bonnie, good morning. So there we go. I'm going to dry this real quick. And then we're going to trace and transfer that line drawing on. And I'm going to show you a couple of tricks for tracing. Link to Deb's website. It's paintingwithdeb.com. Go on, Deb, throw your link up there. She's got just the most adorable things. Her freaking gnomes are freaking cute. So, remember the piece of tape that we used at the very beginning? This is what we're going to use to hold our line drawing in place. So, I cut mine out. Just makes everything so much easier to place. I cut mine out and then position it on the surface so that it's nice and square and everything is straight. And then we're going to use that piece of leftover tape to put it in place. Of course, I managed to shift it before I put the tape down. Hello. Some days, lights are on, nobody's home. There we go. So we've got our line drawing in place, like so. Look at that. That way it never moves. And we're going to use a piece of gray graphite. I love gray graphite. And I'm going to put that into place underneath our line drawing. And then just to make sure that it does not shift at all, push the paper down so it's nice and smooth, and then tape the bottom, just like that. That way it's not going anywhere. Now we're going to use a red gel pen to position this. I like my red gel pen for tracing. I can always, especially on complex designs, because I can see where I've already been. And it just makes your line drawing transfer that much more accurate. So take your time when you're tracing so that you get a nice crisp outline. Now don't worry about all the little details in there, like all those hash marks and whatnot, and the shading lines and what. You don't need those. Not right now. They don't need to be traced at any rate. So away we go. This is just a fun piece. I'm working on a piece for the kitchen, which is an oil bottle. So you can imagine what that's going to look like. And I really love the idea of these simple little bottles, nothing too elaborate. But something fun. Pardon me. Oh my goodness. So, just a few finishing lines there, and then we're going to trace the flowers. Wood violets. Our lawn is covered with them early in the spring and summer. They are a provincial flower here. Flower for New Brunswick. And they're very pretty, but if you want a golf course lawn, you're going to fight with them a lot here, but that's okay. They're very pretty. And they bloom throughout the summer, so sometimes you get the lawn. I know one of our neighbors, his lawn is purple and white with them. And we have white ones and purple as well, but they're very pretty. And the bees love them, especially early. They usually start popping out early May, depending on how warm the spring has been, essentially. These show up right around the same time as the lady slippers and the trilliums. Lady slipper in the woods. And the trillium. We get painted trillium here. And if you're in a really marshy part of the province, or in a marshland, which we also have a lot of here, we also get Indian drinking cup, which is a beautiful flower. It's unique. And Jack in the Pulpit, we get a lot of those too. So, I'm almost done with the floral part of this. We have a strand of pearls. on this piece. I'm going to move this graphite down a little bit. There we go. And I want to show you a really easy technique. One of the things that drives me bananas with a piece is when things are round and they never come out round on your piece. So this is my trick for that. Whenever you're doing something like pearls or beads or round grapes, something that has to be round, this is my trick for that. I will find a circle maker, a shape maker, a stencil that has a number of circles on it, but one that is approximately the same size as the circle you're tracing. And that's what I use to trace the pearls. It just means that all of the pearls are round and they are consistent in size. And it just makes tracing them so much simpler. And the end result is that you have really nice round pearls. They don't end up egg-shaped. That drives me bananas. And it's so much easier to paint something when it's truly round than trying to make something that's not round, round. There we go. It's a quick and easy method when you're tracing just to get that consistency. And it's so much simpler. Makes for a nice transfer. There we go. Now, I don't bother with the string that is holding them together because I'll do that right at the end. But this is the difference. I just want to show you quickly. Look at how nice and round those pearls are. It's just the easiest way to get nice round pearls. So I've just got a couple of things I got to finish out. Make sure that everything is traced as it should be. And then we have just the lettering up top to do. And of course, you could do those first if you want to. It doesn't matter what order you do them in as long as you do them. Now, trick of the trade, the long curly bits are a bit more forgiving, but anything really straight and vertical should be done with a ruler. Simply because if it's supposed to be straight and it isn't straight when you transfer it, it is glaringly obvious when they're crooked. Like the vertical line on this F and on that A in particular. The rest of these are fairly curved, so you can get away with a little bit more anyway. But on lettering, if the line is really straight, it's a good idea to use a ruler to put it in, just to make sure that those vertical lines are straight, because if they are not, they're going to stand out like a bear on a bicycle. And it'll drive you crazy. And for myself, it's already a short walk, so there we are. Pardon me. I really liked this font for this. It had a vintagey feel to it. And it was still feminine enough. Really like that sort of, not a lacy look, but a delicate look, I think is what I was aiming for. And I think that this font really worked well for it. I didn't want anything too over the top elegant. I wanted it to have a little bit of, I wanted it to be pretty, but not ornate, I think. And I really do like this. You gotta have a little fun with it. And there's Gail Jensen is here. And Darlene Greenwood, hello. Lucy's here. Hi, Lucy. Well, I'm glad Lucy's feeling better. That'll learn you. We don't bounce like we used to. Here we go. Whoops. Here we are. Lettering's almost done. I just want to take a ruler on this one because it is very straight and I want it to be straight. This is that one letter that really needed to be as vertical as possible. Same with this A. There's a vertical line here that really needed to be nice and straight. And it does make a difference if something is not perfectly straight, and it should be. It can go sideways pretty quick. So I'm going to quickly check, make sure that everything is as it should be, and it is not because I missed this. Here we go. We'll double check everything. I'm telling you. Ever had one of those days? Yep, I'm having one. There we go. Okay, I think. I keep looking at this one right here, and it's something not right. I know, it's like the old expression, that dog won't hunt. But there we go. Alrighty, I think I've got everything now. Good Lord. It's the party. Oh my goodness. That ever happened to you? Happened to me. I swear. French fries short of a Happy Meal today. Okay. Everything's there this time. Good heavens. All right. So I'm going to remove the tape. This way we're not wasting, 6 inches of tape. Good morning, Carol. Afternoon. There we go. I missed a spot up there, but that's all right. Happens from time to time, which is why I keep a pencil handy. Because, as I said, some days I'm a French fry short of a Happy Meal. There we go. Close enough for... There we go. Parfumerie Aux Fleurs. So we've got our line drawing in place. And one of the things we want to do is to ensure that our lettering is going to sit up. We want it to come off of that background a little bit. Oh, Brenda. Yes, absolutely. March is got multiple personalities. We had like +8 earlier in the week, and then it dropped to like -18. And then it rained, and we had +5. And then it started snowing, and then it was just all over the place. So it's typical for March in Canada. So I think that might be a little too strong. I'm going to put a float on the right-hand side of each letter inside those curves. And don't forget, underneath those upward strokes on the lettering is a little float of heavily thinned asphaltum. So what this is going to do is it's going to lift the lettering just slightly off of the surface. We don't want it to hover, but we want it to cast a little shadow. Just a little. And that shadow is going to give the lettering a little bit more elevation, a little height, and a little bit of dimension. And we need to make sure that those verticals are caught as well. So it looks pretty messy for the first little bit. And it's okay. So we're going to put that float inside, and on that right side, these floats are not perfect. We're just putting a little shadow, dark value up against the letter. Oops. Just like that. And that little float is what's going to give this lettering all of that dimension. So it doesn't feel like it's stuck to the background. Very often when we're doing lettering, and if you don't have some kind of a shadow back there. Hey, Kathy. Kathy Sloan, nice to see you on here, sweetie. If you don't have that little shadow in there, that little bit of dimension, the lettering looks flat. No matter what you do to it, it doesn't seem to have any depth. It just looks like it was stuck on there or stenciled on there, and it needs a little bit of oomph. Now, if you're just painting a sign, that's fine. If that's what you're looking for, then it's fine. But in this case, we want this to have a little bit of dimension. We want some depth. We want some interest in this. And this is what gives it to us, is that little shadow back there. Just elevates that lettering a little bit. So we've got our shadow in. A couple of spots here where it's not quite dark enough, like right here. There we go. And as I said, and I say this a lot, they don't have to be perfect. If you look at this, the only thing that's really important when it comes to the shadow, it's not whether or not it's an absolutely perfect float. What is important is that the value matches. So it can't be really dark over here and really light over here. The idea is to get them fairly consistent. But for the most part, they don't have to be all that neat and tidy, and they definitely don't have to be perfect. Hi, Danita. Uh-oh, Karen's had some drama. Hi, Denise. Good to see you on here, honey. So, make sure that that is good and dry. And we're going to use a 0 rigger and a little bit of Jo Sonja's. Move my jar a little closer. And the color we're going to use for the lettering is this gray storm. I know it's not a very pretty gray. When you look at it in the bottle, it's not pretty. But it is very nice for what we're doing here. Now, this lettering is going to be one coat of gray. It is not going to be perfect, and it is not going to be even, and that's okay. Get it as consistent as you can, but it doesn't need to be perfect. And I'm going to show you why very shortly. So we're going to start with a little bit of that gray. I'm going to put it here. And we're going to stroke in this lettering. One coat. Just like that. Now, we're not looking for fully opaque because this is a distressed piece. So it is going to have some imperfections in it, and that's okay. So ideally, Try to fill as much of the space as you can, but if you end up with a few lines showing, it's all right. Kathy, Krasowski, if just choose one of the darker grays, thin it out a little bit, but use it consistently. So if you have that one, make sure that you use it in the edges as well. But if a gray, it's sort of a mid-value gray, nothing too dark. Even cobblestone will work, hon. Or portobello. What am I missing? Oh, Karen, did we have an accident, lovey? So yesterday I made peanut butter and oatmeal cookies. I made 6 dozen. And my guys are inhaling them like candy. It's, I think, perhaps one of their favorite cookies. So they've been going through them at a horrendous rate. I think we're all suffering from the same thing. I was making cookies yesterday, and I had cut a cup of butter off of a soft. Oh, you spilled your juice? Was it anything like the eggs? It's an inside joke. Karen will get that one. Mary Lynn McBay. Hi. Renee's, he's working on it, Donna. He's working on it. Yeah, I was just about to put 1 cup of very soft butter into my KitchenAid, and I went to scoop it off the out of the plate, and it slid right off of the spatula and landed on the countertop. And it made such a mess. If you've ever worked with soft butter, it made such a mess. So then I had to remeasure it to make sure that I actually had enough butter to do what I wanted to do, because it was just a god-awful mess. There we are. You gotta love it when you get exactly the right consistency. Peanut butter and oatmeal cookies are just so good. They're I think one of my husband's favorites. And I have my mother's recipe for peanut butter and oatmeal cookies, and they're just so good. I love a crisp cookie. And these are... Do I have a Butterbell? Yes, I do. I've had a Butterbell for years. I keep a Butterbell for everyday use, so for toast and things like that. For baking and whatnot, I have a big glass butter dish that I use. Oh, my stars. Lucy, there won't be anything left of you, my dear, if you keep that up. So once you have the, oh, good gravy. There we go. Then you can turn that rigger onto its chisel edge to get that finer line that connects them. And if you struggle with it, just take a liner and do it. There we are. Oh, of course it doesn't want to cooperate now. There we go. So See what a pretty font that is? It's just very light. Oh, that makes two of us, Lucy. The oatmeal, it isn't, but I can certainly put it up there. I have to put the butter chicken up, and there was something else I had to put up there, and I've just been so busy, so. But yes, that oatmeal and peanut butter cookies are just to die for. I did put up my my chocolate cookie recipe up there. Yes, she is perfect just the way she is. So there we go. What am I missing here? Patrick is, I'm crying. You're talking cookies, and 2 weeks ago my heart doctor told me I had to lose weight. I hate him. Patrick, they are heart healthy peanut butter cookies. They only take a half a cup of butter. And they make a very nice crisp cookie. And I have discovered that you cannot make them with margarine. So you can get I don't know about in France, but here we can get a butter that is lactose free. And we can also get one that is omega-3 and cholesterol controlled, I guess. I won't say cholesterol free because I don't think it is, but and those are nice to bake with, but you cannot use margarine. I don't like margarine. Not for baking. Margarine's okay. Heart healthy? Well, you know what? They have lots of oatmeal in them, and oatmeal is good. Oatmeal is good. It helps you get rid of cholesterol. I even put it in my meatloaf. Da, da, da. Okay, we're almost done with this lettering. Just got a few more little lines to put in. Now, if you want the lettering to look a little finer, you can use a liner brush to do all these connecting bits. If you prefer. The finer it is, the lighter it looks. Lactose-free butter. My husband is lactose intolerant, so I use lactose-free milk and I use lactose-free butter. I even buy cream that is lactose-free. It is a good thing. That way my hubby can have his treats and his sweets and all of the things that he really likes without suffering for it. And I get to still cook with butter because I don't like cooking with anything else. I use a lot of olive oil and butter. I don't use margarine. Even the margarine that I do use is made with olive oil. Back in the day, Karen. Back in the day, Karen's husband had speakers that were heavier than her. This is one of the benefits to having a friend that's known you for close to 30, almost 40 years, is that she's seen you at all stages of your life. I'm an older model of an air fryer. I love my air fryer. Okay, so we've got this lettering done. We still have those speakers. Okay, so I'm going to give this, make sure this is really well and dry. Hello.
How's the peoples?
The peoples are doing fine. Currently, they're discussing Lucy's weight.
What?
She's down 14 pounds since she hurt herself, so she just
Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
Well, it's just less of her to love. So this is where I break out my little Sandy Charmaine fluffy now. I like that. Yep, I think we're all a little fluffy. So I'm going to use my sanding sponge again now that this is completely dry, and we're going to vertically and gently sand our lettering.
Really?
The dog stick her head through the door again. Hi, puppy. What you doing? She's smiling.
She's gassed.
Oh, yeah? You wore her out, did you?
Yeah. We did search games.
Ah.
Really?
So she's mentally gassed, too.
Yeah. Look.
Hi, baby. Are you tired? Yep, she is.
Trying to get her ball.
Yeah. Oh, her ball's up there? Okay. So I just very lightly sanded that lettering. And then I'm going to take the dust off. I like that soft distressed look. We don't want it heavily distressed. We want it softly distressed. So now I'm going to take my angled shader. I think I'm going to use a 1/2 inch angle for this. We've got a black gold one here. I want a nice soft one. Ghee is butter. Yes, it's clarified butter. Oh, I saw something here a minute ago. Where'd it go? Not fat, but fluffy. Yep. Ah, Phyllis Freeman from Millsboro, Delaware. Hello. So we're going to take a little more of that asphaltum, thin it out, blend it out. We don't want it too strong. And we're going to put a little shadow in behind our bottle here. It's just a light shadow. I don't worry too much. You can go right over the line drawing. It's fine. Because we just want a nice clean shadow like that. And then we're going to put one along the bottom of the bottle as well. And in underneath those leaves. That's why I don't worry about it. We're just doing the line drawing, so it doesn't have to be perfect. And we're going to go underneath those leaves. And we're also going to go underneath those pearls. Just a little float. Just like that. This is the nice part about doing this now, is that you're going to paint over 90% of this. So we just want to make sure that these shadows, especially these ones underneath and in behind those leaves, just like that. Easy peasy. although they're simple, those little shadows make a world of difference. There we are. So we've got nice little shadow in behind our bottle. And I'm going to dry that. And then we're going to start base coating. Now, I like to work from the back forward, which means we're going to start with the leaves because they're the ones that are furthest away, and then the flowers are closer to us. Janet, glad to hear you guys are safe. Good to know. Those storms are so scary. So our leaves are going to be base coated with aloe. Is it aloe or thicket? Aloe. Good gravy. Couldn't for a moment there think. So the color we're using is this one. It's called aloe. It's sort of a muddy green. It's one of those colors that you just sort of go, meh. But it's beautiful green for this. So aloe is our base coat. It's nicely opaque. It's not heavily opaque, but it's nicely opaque. So we're going to base coat our leaves with aloe. One coat will do. Just like that. It is an unusual green. It's got a little bit of gray in it. It's not a high yellow green. It's got a little gray to it. It is a pretty green though, especially for something like this. It has a really nice tone. So we're going to base coat those leaves with green. That pretty aloe. Don't forget those little leaves. I have a bad habit of forgetting those. Janet, I'm glad you guys are safe. My goodness. Evacuation is frightening. We've only ever had to do it once. The kids, well, not the kids, Renee and myself and my husband were trapped in an apartment building, our apartment, during a fire, and unable to get out until they got the fire under control. We were up on the 12th floor. Not the 12th. Which floor? 8th floor. 8th or 9th. It was one floor above the maximum height the ladders could reach. Everybody below us got out, either walked out under their own steam or, could get off their balconies, or the fire ladder could get them out. But we were stuck above that. So, and then we were fortunate that we had very good friends in the apartment building next door to us that were there waiting with everything that we needed. That was a long time ago. Renee was not quite, well, he was 2. Good Lord, that's a long time ago. So there we go. We've got leaves, green. Yep. Miss Karen and her hubby were right there waiting for us when we got out of that building. It's hard to believe it's been that long ago. So, we've got our leaves base coated. And now we're going to start, oh yeah, Apartment building fires. We moved out of that apartment building not too long after that. So we're going to start base coating our violets, and these are so simple. We're going to use a number 5 round. Oh my goodness. Oh yeah, you don't forget a fire. I was, 8 months pregnant, I think? Yeah, I think I was 8 months pregnant at the time. 7 or 8 now. And, yeah, I spent Renee and I and my husband sitting out on the balcony. No, I think it was 9 or 10 floors up, unable to get out because our apartment very quickly filled with smoke. Even though, oh, yeah, after 40 years, Karen, of course we have lots. So we're going to start stroking in these violets, and they're very simple. We're going to use a number 5 round and a little bit of Joe Sonia. And we're going to load the brush up with lavender. This is such a pretty color. It's one of my favorite purples. And then we're going to stroke in these flowers. Now, I like to pull the stroke in the shape of the petal back towards the center. It does not have to be perfect or fully opaque. I'm just saying. There we go. Remember the little 5-petal flowers that I do, where I do them in strokes? Same idea. So here we've got a violet. We're going to pull this stroke. So this petal is going to take 2 to 3 strokes to fill, and pull it all the way back towards the center of the flower. Just like that. Usually 2 to 3 strokes to fill it in. And we're only doing the one coat. Just pull it back towards the center. Just like that. Easy peasy. Yeah, losing your home. I mean, we were very lucky. The fire, it was investigated, it was arson. Someone had set some moving boxes in the lobby and set them all on fire. And then before they did it, they opened all of the fire doors from the top floor all the way down, so nobody could get out. Oh, so it was frightening, and to be wakened in the middle of the night to the sound of fire trucks and people screaming, and it was just, yeah, it was an experience I don't want to go through again. So easy peasy. And we're going to come over here. I'm going to leave this one until after we base coat the bottle, just so that we don't have to work over top of it. Oh my goodness. Donna Baker. How dare they interrupt? Okay, so I'm going to dry this real quick. And then we're going to base coat the bottle. My goodness. Yeah, it was a very frightening thing to find out that, there was probably There was at least 60 families living in that building. So yeah, it was frightening. Okay, so look at our violets. They look pretty good. So we're going to base coat our bottle, and the color I chose for the bottle is this one. This is sea glass. Oh, I don't think I could ever live in an apartment building again. It was terrifying. So we're going to base coat our bottle with sea glass. I love this color. And I like to base coat it in the shape. So I'm following the shape of the bottle when I'm putting this color in. And it does not have to be fully opaque. One coat, and again, I follow the shape of the bottle. Follow the shape of this section that you're painting. It makes a world of difference in the end result because all the brush marks follow the shape of the bottle. And so if you're wanting to make it look ultra smooth, it makes a world of difference when all those brush marks go in the same direction. There we go. Just going to paint around the leaves a little bit. I'll come back in and base coat the trim of the bottle. Now the sea glass, I chose sea glass because it's in the same ballpark as the green here, slightly grayed out. So I love that grayed out tone. Which is very pretty. And then we're going to use a really pretty teal to make it look like glass. Yes, they did, Kathy. And there we go. So as I said, you can see that this is not fully opaque. It's one coat, and that's all you need. Yeah, there's no hug emoticon. So I'm going to switch to a smaller brush. I'm going to use a rigger, and we're going to base coat the rest of this bottle. I love this color. This sea glass color is just so, so pretty. And when we start shading it with that teal mint color, it's going to take on more of that glass look. And this is a simple design. We're not overthinking this. The idea was not to make it look like realistic glass, just to emulate glass. So, and it's supposed to be fun to paint. So I'm just taking the time to paint in all of these little details. The little spaces, instead of trying to paint it all one shape, I like to do the little elements separately and paint them so that the brush marks follow that shape. It just helps with the overall look of it. There we go. And then I kind of liked the idea of a dome on this as opposed to a ball or just a flat top. I liked the dome idea. So I wanted to make it look a little domed. There we go. And almost there. There we go. So now that we've got that bottle base coated, I'm going to come back in with my round and some lavender, and we're going to stroke in that violet. And again, I like to do it in 2 to 3 strokes so that the brush marks all come towards the center of the flower, just like that. There we go. So there's our violet. Now I'm going to dry this really well, and then I'm going to show you a fast and easy way to base coat those pearls. Here we are. So this is all looking very vintagey. I love the tone of this. I want to make sure that all of my flowers, because they are stroked in, so the paint's a little thicker. So make sure those are all good. So I wanted to show you a really easy way to base coat the pearls so that they stay nice and round. Remember the shape maker? So I've got a little bit of warm white. If I can get it out of the bottle. It formed a little thingy. There it is. Okay. A little bit of warm white. I don't need a lot. And I have my shape maker. So I'm going to find the circle that makes the perfect size right there. And I'm going to use a small stencil brush and pick up a little bit of warm white. And I'm going to stencil the pearl. Just like that. And that little base coat that you put on is sufficient. I'm going to let those dry and then I'll come back to them. Put every second one so I don't smear white paint everywhere like I did there. Good grief. Et voila. And this method gives you nice, perfect, round pearls. So let it dry, and then you can come back in and stencil them again if you need another coat, or if you just want to there we are. So if you want to base coat them again, put a second coat on, you can do it this way. Or if you want to ensure that every other one gets fully base coated, you can go back in and clear them this way. So we base coat all those pearls using that stencil. Robin. Well, Facebook was on. I don't know if they still are or not. So I'm going to, there we are. Stencil my circle. So now I've got nice white pearls. There we go. So we've got white pearls, base coated. All of our base coating is done. So much simpler. So we're going to start with the shading. We're going to use a color called Thicket. That's not Thicket, that's Gray Storm. Thicket. This is such an unusual color. I know, it's the let it dry thing. When it comes to stenciling like this, yes. So a little bit of Thicket. I love this color. It's unique and it works really beautifully on this aloe. This one has a slight blue cast to it. It's in the teal family, so it tends to pick up on the teals. So it's not as bright as, say, a mermaid's tail, but it has that undertone, that teal undertone to it, and it works really well, especially on top of this aloe. Now, it's a cooler green. Again, works very well on this. So blend it out. Little bit of Jo Sonja's or water, either one will work. And we're going to put a float up underneath our flowers, just like so. So up underneath the flower, and where petals overlap, and you're going to bring it about 1/3 of the way down the leaf. This is such an elegant green. I like rich dark greens. So there we go. Here we go. Here we are. Good. Oh my goodness. So nice soft color. Look at that. It looks really good. Although when you put the two colors side by each, like so, they don't look like they would go well together. But it's that gray undertone. It works really, really nice. And then that little touch of teal cools the two greens off. So it's a really good match for that aloe. And it's an elegant tone. It falls right into this vintage feel really, really nicely. And it gives you that nice, that slightly grayed out or slightly aged look, which I just love. I just love how this color looks. The other nice thing is that it falls into that teal tone, and so it marries really well to that sea glass, and it marries really well to that teal mint, which is what we're going to use in there. So it might seem like an odd combination, but when you look at them all, they all have that one thing in common, which is that slight blue undertone, that teal look. And that's what makes the difference with this. It's keeping all of these colors cool. So we have that cooler purple, that wisteria in the background, which marries really nicely to that lavender. And then the cooler tones in the glass, that teal undertone, and it's the same reflected in those leaves. So it makes for a really pretty combination. And this one does have a cooler tone. It's very fresh. So those little leaves get a float of that thicket right at the base where it joins the stem, like so. And then we're going to dry that, and then we're going to put a shadow down the center vein of each of those leaves. And I do truly love that color. So we're going to put a shadow down the center vein of each of those leaves using that same thicket. Just like that. Such a pretty, pretty color. And it's, I think, an underrated color a lot of the time. So there's our shading color. I'm going to get that leaf right here. Just like that. I love this. I just think that this is such a pretty, pretty green. There we are. So look at that. So we've got that nice center vein. Now we're going to make it pop. And this is where we tie this to those leaves. What color could you use if you don't have thicket? You can use plantation pine. You can use, what's that other one? You can use eucalyptus leaf. Will work too. They all have that slate blue undertone. They'll work. So we need to put a highlight on these leaves. And this is where we tie this bottle to these leaves. We're going to use a little bit of sea glass as our highlight color.
Her whole head through there.
Uh-huh. Maze has got her head through the cat door again. So we're going to float down the center vein opposite the shadow and along the edge with a little bit of sea glass. So it gives us that nice highlight, has that slight blue undertone that we were talking about, and it ties into that bottle. Just like that. We seem to have lost the Facebook chat.
There's Facebook there.
One. But it hasn't moved.
There you go.
Oh, there we are.
They're not chatting.
Okay, they're quiet. Okay, threw me off. So there we go with that little float of sea glass. It's very soft. That sea glass is a nice, fairly opaque color. The dog is too much for TV. It's me. So such a pretty color. Look at that. Nice and soft, but it still ties to this. So I'm going to put a little of that sea glass and then up the center vein. Now, if you find that when you floated the sea glass on that you buried a lot of the shading on the leaf, just go back in with another little float of the, good gravy, little float of that thicket. It's a great tone. So I want to deepen this just a little bit. So I'm putting a little float of thicket back in just to make sure my shadow is nice and deep. Now you can also take a little bit of asphaltum and deepen those. If you want to age it a little bit more, that's fine. You can go in with a little bit of heavily thinned asphaltum and just deepen that tone. I'm going to do that with a little bit of asphaltum and a little bit of that with a round brush. I don't want a ton of that color, but I want to darken a couple of things. I want to deepen this leaf in behind. It's got a little bit of thicket on it, but I want to darken it a little. So I'm going to mix a little asphaltum with some thicket, just to deepen this spot in behind that bottle right there. And I'm going to do the same thing here, in behind our violet. I don't need it to be solid or really, really dark, but I do need a little shadow back there. And that's that little spot in behind this leaf, right there. Just need to darken it a little bit. There we go. A couple of little spots that need deepening, and that's okay. There we are. Carol. Oh, you're starting to sound like me. Just like that. It is very pretty, and it does match the color of the leaves that we see on the wood violets in the summertime. It's very pretty. It's a nice combination, that sea glass thicket and that aloe. Although when you put those three colors together, they really don't look like they should go together. But yet they do very, very well. But they all have that slight undertone. And a lot of the times that's what you're looking for. These colors all have that grayed out feel to them. And so it works with this. So let me show you what I do to select my colors. So here's my background. That's that purple that's in the background. This is that wisteria. And then I wanted a punch of color. I needed a purple to go with this one. Again, look at this. And then we're going to use like a diox purple, or in this case, I'm using purple iris. Move those over so you can see. So there's your color palette for this whole painting. Is right there. Other than the highlight, one of the highlight colors that we're going to use in the leaves, and then a couple of detail colors. So we have some warm white, we have a little bit of baby duck, and then we have that gray. So you can see this does not look like a really bright color palette when you have it all lined up. And these are the most dominant colors in this piece. Does not look like it'll be a bright color palette, and yet it still works. So, et voila. So we've got this nice bright color palette happening. And surprising that it's not as bright when you see all the colors lined up. But that's how I select colors a lot of the time, is looking at them from the standpoint of being in a particular tonal value. And in this case, I wanted that really subdued and slightly grayed out color palette, and this worked beautifully for my purposes. So we have a bottle, and the color that I'm going to use is this one. Everybody got quiet. Yeah. This is teal mint. It's such a bright color. It looks like it wouldn't quite fit in with this piece, but we're not using a ton of it. Now, I got my new colors this week. So look at this. This is called Amazement. This is one of the new colors this year. Such a pretty tone. This one made my knees wobble. First of all, I love a good mint. This one is so pretty. It's a little too early to hit the bottle. Well, I thought that Facebook stopped working because I wasn't seeing anybody talking. So look at that color. Isn't that pretty? So if you were stuck, you don't have sea glass, and you want to amplify this color palette a little bit, I think that Amazement would make pretty bottle if you wanted it a little brighter. I just think that Amazement is such a pretty color. And ooh, look at this. These two together, so, so pretty. Did somebody ask what we were having for supper? Is that what? But yes, that's that new color called Amazement. I just think it's such a pretty tone. So, so pretty. And I think for the last couple of years, there's been a teal in almost every color palette. And this year is no exception. They added this one, which is called Dragon Teal. And this one kind of made my knees wobble too. This is more of a jewel tone version of Mermaid Tail. It's a little, not quite as transparent as Mermaid Tail, and a little bit richer and more blue, more on, that brighter blue. Very pretty. So I'm really excited. I've got a pile of these colors. You notice I already have them marked, which means they're already in my paint tray. These are the colors that I'm going to reach for often. And I wanted to show you something. I know this is going to sound silly, but whenever a company puts out a new color, and I put them into my paint tray, I mark them. So 24 for 2024 and 25 for 2025 and so on. And the reason I do that is so that I know which colors came out when. And so frequently when you go through if you look at my paint rack, there's a lot of this. It'll have 2020 on them, or it'll have 20 or 22 or 23. But it gives me an idea, and it reminds me of when colors were released. I know for a lot of people that's not all that important, but for me it is, because I'm writing patterns and instructions, and so it's easy for me to go to it and go, okay, this is from 2020. So when people ask, I have an answer for them. So I have my new colors all marked with the year. So these are the two sets that I have in my painting tray, which means these are the ones that are to my right, and they're always out, especially for designing. So I gravitate towards them. So this way I try to work in the new colors into whatever I'm doing. I know you probably didn't need to know that, but there it is. So we're going to start shading our bottle. And I'm going to do that with a little bit of this teal mint. I think this is such a pretty tone. And I'm going to start by shading the left side of my bottle on that dome. Just like that. So there's my dome. Oh, Karen, I do that all the time, and I very rarely manage to make a mess. Very rarely, but I do it from time to time. And then I'm going to put my shadow on the right side, or the left, sorry. Same with these little spaces under here. I'm going to do all of the left side first. Just like that. So it's just a float with that teal mint. The new ones, Kathy, are available at Country Bear. If you're looking for a Canadian distributor, they're at Country Bear. And their service has been fantastic. The shipping is very quick. I don't think you'll be disappointed. The new colors are amazing. So I love this color. And the thing to remember up here is that inside the neck of this bottle, there is an opening right here. So when you get down to the bottom here, you're going to put a float across the top like that. And that float's going to come about 1/3 of the way down. And Kathy, if you're looking for those recipes for color mixes, they're in the free download section on my website. On both the Canadian one and the tracymoreau.net. It's available on both. So there we are. Now we're going to do the same thing over here. Going to put that shadow along the bottom. And I'm trying to leave a little space. And I kind of overshot it on that one, but we'll fix that. Like so. So we're going to essentially put those shadows in to form each of those panels on the, or the facets, I should say, of these bottles, of this bottle. Just like that. And you're going to do it on all of them, all of those facets. Just make sure you leave a little space, like so. Oh, there we go. Jeez. All of a sudden, I couldn't remember how to float. So there we go. So we're essentially just painting a little bit of color into each of the facets of this bottle. And we're leaving a fairly big space in between. I'm going about 1/8 of an inch, just leaving a gap in there for highlights. That's why I don't trace the pattern in for the facets. I just put a line in. And yeah, they do get buried under there, but by the time you're done, they won't show anyway. So, there we go. I love this color, this teal mint. There's Miss Bloomfield. I hope you're feeling better, honey. None of us bounce the way we used to, so always always a little concerned about the ones that fall. I don't like falling, and I trip all the time. I trip over my own feet. I trip over lint. And I don't bounce anymore. So, now that we've got that part done, we're going to come back down here on the neck of the bottle and go up the other side. Because I want to leave a space roughly in the center of the bottle for a highlight. Just like so. Roughly. And then don't forget, we've got that little opening in there. And we need a little one right there. There we go. So there's all the facets on our bottle. Got to put a little darkness in there. There we go. So it looks rough. I know it looks rough, and that's okay. Because we're going to start layering in some highlights on this bottle. We're going to do that with that sea glass and a little bit of warm white. We're going to take a little bit of warm white and lighten our sea glass a little bit. So just a touch of warm white, just to lighten it a little bit. And then we're going to, especially on the neck of this bottle, we're going to add a little stroke. And in the center there, So what we're looking to create is this. See these little highlights in the middle here and on the top edge and on the top of our bottle? These are just little strokes of that sea glass mixed with warm white. And we're going to do 3 different values. So you're going to start with that first value. So a little bit of sea glass and then add a little touch of warm white to it. And this is where you're going to stroke down those spaces that we left. And it's just a stroke. We're not looking for perfection. Just like that. You're going to use that mixture, and it's just a little bit lighter than the base color. Just like that. Little bit here, little bit here, on the neck, on the front of the bottle. This is where that little highlight comes in. And it gets gradually lighter. So you add a little more warm white to that little puddle. And you repeat. So it creates layers of gradually lightening color. So we're going to do this 3 times until we end up with just warm white. So all of those little strokes. Remember what I said about those lines? Patrick had asked, well, would it bury the graphite lines? Yes, it will. But by the time we're done, you're not going to see them anyway. This is going to be a simple bottle. So there's number 2. I'm going to do this one more time. There we go. Look at that. So this is just a stroke of that lighter value. And as I said, it gets a little lighter each time. And you can do this as often as you like. If you want it really gradual, you can do it as often as you like. I'm a fan. I love this method for highlighting because each of those strokes gets a little smaller each time you go over it. And again, we're not looking for that perfect stroke work. It's just light. Now, I've got my 3. I'm just going back in and layering a little bit because I like to. I like the overstroke. I'm going to pick up a bit more warm white. And it's almost pure warm white at this point. And this is where I'm going to add a bit more of that brightness. So I'm going to come to the top of that line. See the base? Right where that shadow is? I'm going to put a little stroke of that there. Again, it's a brush mix and it's almost pure. Almost. A little bit of an impact point there. Little stroke. Little stroke. You can put a little bit more. And if you want to go all the way to a completely pure white stroke, you can. You want to make it really shiny, pure white. Light impact point, just make sure they all line up. Just like that. It's a light technique. It is not hard edged. We're not looking for perfection. So now you've got that shiny bottle. Now comes the fun part. So I want to soften some of this. And I like the softening part. So when you look at it, it's still pretty streaky and it looks really, not perfect. So I'm going to take one of my favorite dry brushes. This one is a domed blender. You can use any brand. And I'm going to pick up a little bit of warm white. You can do this with titanium white too if you want to. And you're going to blot the brush, and then you're going to just put a soft dry brush of white in the center of each one of those facets, like so. You can do this with a stencil brush too if you want to. If you've got a nice small one. Polish pickle soup. Oh my God, I haven't had that since I lived in Manitoba. I had never heard of it until I moved to Manitoba, and oh my gosh, is it good. So there we go. You can just go over top of the glass. Now look. See how soft that is? So, last step for this bottle, we're going to pick up a little bit of asphaltum and lots of water, lots of glaze. And we're going to put a shadow on our bottle, just deep in the sides. We're going to crisp up some edges, little float of asphaltum over top of the teal. Heavily thinned, it's not a sharp or a strong float, but it just adds a little more depth and dimension to the bottle. Just like that. Wherever you've got that teal mint, you're going to put a little shadow in. Like so. Fun little bottle. So now we're going to move over to our flowers. I know everybody's been waiting for these, and these are super simple. I'm going to switch to a smaller angled shader. I'm going to use 3/8. I like my 3/8. I'm going to get it good and wet. And the color we're going to use, you can use either dioxazine purple, or you can use purple iris. Just want a really deep, transparent purple. I was sitting here the other day and this occurred to me that Twilight would be really pretty, which was a new color in 24. Twilight, I think. We're going to try it. I just had that thought the other day that, ooh, wouldn't that be pretty? You're having takeout tonight, Kay? We're having shepherd's pie tonight. Just an old-fashioned shepherd's pie. So I'm going to, let's try this. I really love this color, Twilight. And I'm really anxious to see how it'll look on my violets. Oh my goodness. Look how pretty this is. Ooh. Oof, oof, oof. I used Diox in the first one. But I really like that. How pretty is that? This is Twilight. Oh my, oh my, oh my. Very nicely transparent. A bit more blue than Diox. But my, oh my. How pretty. Oh my goodness. That is so, so pretty. So let's do this. Oh my goodness. Oh, oh. Now, why didn't I think of this when I was designing it? Probably because it's such a, such a jewel tone. And I was trying to avoid that. Oh, that is so pretty. It is a purpley blue. It does have that really nice, like, twilight color to it. But oh my, does it shade that lavender nicely? Oh. Oh, I'm really liking this. I'm okay with deviating when it comes to color. Sometimes taking a chance makes all the difference. Purple iris is so pretty. It's very purple, very transparent. And lately, it's been my go-to purple for shading, but oh my goodness. This is just beautiful. Twilight over lavender. How pretty is that? So there is that gorgeous shading color. So pretty. Absolutely gorgeous. Love it. So it's just shading into the mouth of these and then down the sides like so. We just want the darker color towards the mouth like that. Super easy. Oh, it's that twilight is now, I think, my new favorite color for shading purples. That is just gorgeous. I want to deepen it a little. So pretty. Just so pretty. Love it. So I'm going to, oh, I love that. So we have two things. We're going to use a little bit of baby duck, just like that. And we're going to, where's my liner? This part is pretty simple. So I've got, looking for my extra long detail liner. I've got a small round and my extra long detail liner. And in the center of our flower, we're going to put a little stroke of baby duck. It's like a little, just a little small stroke, vertical stroke like this, pointing towards the center, like that. It's teeny tiny, and it's just a little stroke. In each of the center of the flower, it's just a little bit of baby duck. And then we're going to use a little of that baby duck to put a beard on each of these flowers. And I'm using my extra long detail liner. Just little fine strokes like this coming away from the center of the flower, like that. And we're going to do that coming off of these. Oh, that liner brush has got a funky hair. So little fine lines coming up onto the petal like so from the center. And I do mean fine, just little ones like that. Itty bitty lines. I have to get a new liner brush. Mine is just about had the biscuit, I'm afraid. They don't last forever, and these get a real workout. My liners get a workout almost daily. Oops-a-daisy. I'm going the wrong way here. Here we go. So I'm going to go around. I'm leaving a little space around that yellow at the throat. Just a little space. Just so it doesn't... Here we go. And what size... Margaret, my liner is a 5/0 extra long detail liner. I like them really fine. I'm a fan. I absolutely love violets. I think they're pretty. And I have hundreds of them on my lawn in the spring. Hundreds of them. They drive my husband to distraction. He's the guy that would be out there clipping with a pair of nail scissors to make his lawn perfect. My dear sweet husband is grass obsessed in the springtime. And the violets are the bane of his existence. They drive him bananas early in the spring. So there we go. Get that little beard. Much like violas, they have the tiny little fine little beard. And I do love the fine little lines. They're just so pretty. And they make the violets look so delicate. And what's for dinner this evening, Debbie? We are having shepherd's pie. Make Irish style mashed potatoes and ground beef. And then I make mine with corn, carrots, and peas. My husband loves green peas. So I use peas, and the rest of us like either corn or carrot. Lots of gravy and Irish style potatoes. So there we go. So we've got the little beard in. One of the things that I like to do, I'm going to use a little bit of warm white just to pull the eye towards the center of this flower. I'm going to use tiny little dots of warm white. Remember that space I was talking about? We're going to use little tiny dots of warm white at the throat of the flower. Right here, right at the edge of that yellow strokes, tiny little white dots. Just using the tip of the brush. It acts kind of like a highlight, I guess. But it draws the eye towards the center of the flower. So our next step is to put in a few of those little flip overs. And I like doing that with this extra long detail liner. Now I have done this with purple iris, but I'm going to do it with that twilight because we use that as our shading color. So I'm going to use that for the twilight. At the bottom edge of these petals, there is a little flip over right there. And it just makes that flower look like it's got a little turnover at the bottom of the petal. And I'm going to put one right here too. And then we have one here. I want this one a little wider. There we go. And this little one over here. So on the point, press the brush down until you get that shape. You get that little flip over at the edge of the petal. It just gives the illusion that that petal has got a curve in it. Have a great weekend, Deb. And those little curls in the petals just make the flower come to life. And I'm going to do one here too. And I want one right there. And then right at the bottom of this petal as well. Here we go. So that little flip over just does wonders for the edges of those. Pretty little flowers. Now, if you find that the center is looking a bit wanting, if you need something to perk it up a little bit, that's where this little round comes in handy. And, oh, goodness. I'm going to use just the tip of the brush with a little of that blue and just put a dot right at the top of that yellow stamen right there. And there's your violets. Super easy way to paint violets. A little early. We still have ice and snow on our lawn, so we have pearls to paint. And I do something really simple with mine. I'm going to use a little bit of Bahama Blue and a little bit of warm white and a little bit of asphaltum. So we need a little asphaltum on the palette. Just a dot. We don't need much. And I'm going to use a 3/8 angled shader for this. And we're going to use a little bit of thinned Bahama Blue. Blend it out really well. We don't want this full strength. And we're going to put a float on the left side of each of those pearls. Comme ça. Hi, Maze. Hi, Papa Dog. Oh, goodness. What's with the muzzle punch right in the boob? Hi. So, little float on the left-hand side. Come in just slightly from the edge. Just a sliver from the edge. That little bit of white that shows at the edge of this float is going to help make these look very spherical. Hi, Maze. She's awfully happy. Did she eat somebody? Hey, Papa Dog. Did you eat somebody? So, I know this doesn't show up well on camera, but there is just a sliver of the white base coat on the side of that float. So it's just in a little bit from the edge. So the next step is to take a little asphaltum, and just a very little. You don't need a lot. And you're going to blend that out so that it is not full strength. We want it very weak. And then you're going to float right over top of all of that Bahama Blue. Leave that little sliver exposed. Just a little sliver. Just like that. I've just discovered that I say that a lot. Just like that. So that little shadow just changes that blue to a sort of a soft green, a cool green that almost looks like that sea glass. And then we're going to take that warm white or titanium white. You can use either one. And we're going to put a float on the other side of the pearl. This one can go right to the edge because this is your highlight color. And it's going to do two things. It's going to soften the boundary between those two colors. Just like that.
Ooh, it's gonna be 13 degrees tomorrow.
I don't actually get a window open. So there's your pearls. So the next step for those is either a dot of titanium white or a dot of warm white on the upper right side. And it's a pronounced dot. We want these pearls to look white. So they get a fairly pronounced dot. And the dot is right at where the white and the Bahama blue meet. That's where you want your dot. Just like that. So all of a sudden, we have poils. Just like that. Nice little dot. Gives us a nice highlight on those pearls. Makes them look not shiny, but glossy. Lustrous, I think is the word I'm looking for. So we're going to dry that really well, and then we're going to take off some of the graphite lines. And then we're going to do a bunch of little connecting lines to detail this. The cool is refreshing. 4 days of sunshine in a row. It was only 8 degrees this morning, and then the sun makes it a happy day anyway. I love the snow, personally. Karen does not. Karen does not like the snow. I love the snow.
Yes, you went to Alberta.
Yep. Well, she may not love snow, but she loves the people that are there. I wanted a few more flip overs in my flowers, so I'm going to stroke those in. Like it. Oh, Bev, I'm with you. I'm not a fan of the super hot weather either. Karen loves the super hot weather. I don't. No, thank you. So this is nice and dry. At least I hope it is, because I'm going to try and erase some of these graphite lines. So I'm going to grab my black eraser, and we're going to take off some of those graphite lines around our pearls. Always amazes me that this works so well. There we go. Graphite lines. Goodbye. I'm going to do the same thing to the bottle. Just clean up a bunch of graphite. Make it go bye-bye. There we are. And the same with the lettering. Although most of it got sanded off, we're going to clear up a bulk of any graphite that's showing. And we're getting ready to add the final finishing touches. So I've got a little bit of thicket. We're going to connect our leaves with a little bit of thicket. Am I keeping you awake, dear? Mm-hmm. There we are. Just connect those little leaves. It's a nice fine line. And then, of course, we've got, I like my little tendrils, my vines and tendrils and curlicues. And this is one of the things I love about working with that Joe Sonia's is because it thins the paint and lets me do things like that, where I can keep those lines nice and smooth and accurate. Look how pretty. Very nice. So we're going to use one of my favorite things, a fugly brush. I like my fugly brush. And we're going to spatter with a little bit of thinned asphaltum. And I've heavily thinned this. I don't want this to be too dark, but it needs a little bit. So let's get a little bit. And you can do as much of this or as little of this as you like. I like a sort of halfway between. I don't want a ton of it. And I'm going to repeat that with a little bit of thinned warm white. Just to keep it light. I don't want it to look too heavy. And I like the white on the bottle in particular. But I like a little of the white on the purples. So you put a little of that in. And I'm going to dry this real quick. And then we're going to use our gel pen. I love my gel pen. And we're also going to use a stencil. So I'm going to dry that. I don't want to smear it because that would be me. I would smear it. So I've got my postal stencil. I think you guys know I can't resist a... Oh, God. Just laid my stencil brush right into the asphaltum. There we go. So I love... There's something about France that really appeals. So thinned asphaltum, I don't want a ton of it. I'm going to stencil with my, well, I took most of it off. That was smooth. There we go. So I don't want this too dark. I don't want it opaque, and I don't want it heavy. So I'm using my postal stencil to put just a little image in there. There we go. On that side. And then I want to use, I've got a fair amount of negative space down here. I want to bring the other portion of this stencil in. And again, I don't want it to be too dark, so I'm just going a little lighter with it. And you can use this as much or as little as you want. And I think I'm happy with that. I don't want it to be too busy. So little bit. And now we're going to use that gel pen. I've got my black gel pen and I have a white gel pen. And I'm going to start with the white one. And we're going to use the white gel pen. You can use white gel. You could use a Posca pen if you like. Of course, I might end up with a Posca pen because this pen doesn't want to work. It worked yesterday. Oh, there it goes. And you're just going to add a sketchy outline to the edge of that gray that's on our piece, just to highlight it. And as I said, it doesn't have to be perfect, doesn't have to be a solid white line everywhere. It can be broken. If you prefer it imperfect, you can let it be broken. If you prefer it solid, you can do it solid. But just trace the edge of that gray border that you put on. And as I said, if you don't have a white gel pen, you can use a white Posca pen, one of the ultra fine ones. You could use almost any gel pen will work. If you don't have one like this, you can use whatever you have on hand. These are my favorite, and they're really hard to get right now for some reason. Don't know why. So I've been using my Posca pen a lot. I love my Posca pens. I'm using a 0.7 millimeter white Posca pen. You can even get them on Amazon. You can get them at Michael's now. And they have them at Hobby Lobby and Dick Blick. So if you're looking for them, I love the Posca pens. And I do absolutely love these ones. These are the Uniball Signo. These are actually made by the same company that makes the Posca pens. It makes me very happy. Mitsubishi company in Japan. Ironic that my two favorite, not ironic, but coincidental, that's the word I was looking for. My favorite paint pen and my favorite gel pens are all made by the same company. So there's the little highlight at the edges of our piece using that white gel pen. Love it. And then use the black, that ultra fine is for detailing everything else. I like these little sketchy lines in places. You can go around and add your little details to things. I'm a big fan. I love my gel pens for this. You can add all kinds of fun little details to things. Little vertical lines inside that curvature for the opening in the bottle. Detail the edges of the lid. It does not have to be perfect. It can be sketchy. It can be imperfect. It can be incomplete. None of it needs to be perfect. I love the sketchy little details in things. Now, if you're not a fan of using the gel pen, you don't have to. I like doing it. Not everybody does. That's okay. You can add those sketchy little details. You can leave them out if you're not a fan. There is nothing in the rule books that says you have to do it exactly the way I did. And I do the same thing around my flowers. I use that same light sketchy line at the edges of the leaves. You can add details to everything this way. But you are not obligated to. You can do it any way you want. And I'm going to use the gel pen to have a little fun with those pearls too. I just like the way that the pen accentuates things, makes them a little more hard-edged, makes them a little more visible on the background, defines them a little bit. And how hard-edged they are is entirely up to you. I prefer them to be a little sketchy. I don't want a hard, definite line around things. I like the more sketchy appearance. That works for me. Easy peasy. So you can do the same thing to the pearls. Again, they don't have to be perfect. And then you can draw that string leading from one pearl to the next with the gel pen. Just like that. And then don't forget to add a little curly Q. Ooh, a tea. That's nice.
That you made and forgot?
I didn't make it. I brought down a glass of juice.
Yeah.
But thank you. Just left it on my desk.
Sure you don't want a sip of it now?
Yeah, I'm fine. I'm busy. But this is just the fun part. And we are almost done. I think Renee's got the wheel set up. There we go. I love this. I just think this is such a fun way to accent things. Now, you could make circles around the little sketchy lines around the pearls if you like. If you prefer them the way they are, that's fine. I just think they're kind of cute. It follows the whole design very nicely. So there we go. Easy peasy. Such a fun piece to paint. Now the only thing this one needs is a scribblature. And I think I'm going to sign it with a little bit of thicket. There we go. Et voilà. Parfumerie Aux Fleurs. Aux Fleurs. Such a fun piece to paint.
Oh, that poor wheel.
Oh, the poor wheel? Why is it poor wheel? Oh, my stars. How many names? 214 names. Our giveaway today, we have a great set of DecoArts Decorator or Designer Series brushes for 3 of you. We have a bottle of Starlight Varnish. One of my favorites. I love it because it's got that ultra fine glitter in it. So pretty for Christmas ornaments and the like. So there is that included in our giveaway this week. Plus we have a little create bag and a bunch of little goodies that Renee and I always throw in as well. So there's lots of fun stuff, including some Tombow goodies in there for you. So we have 3 of those to give away today. Renee's got the wheel all loaded up. So if he's ready to spin it, let her rip.
I don't have my notepad. And a Sharpie.
You need a Sharpie. Boop. Boop. Yeah, we have oodles of goodies. DecoArt's been very generous, as always. DecoArt's very good to us. Dynasty, we've got a bunch of brushes to give away next weekend. Linda Neesmith Stanton. Awesome. Awesome, awesome, awesome. So next weekend, we are painting the daisy mate to this one. It's going to be a lot of fun. We've got some more fun techniques to show you for that one too. Hopefully you got something out of this that you didn't know before, hopefully. And remember, if you ever have any questions about any of my designs or any of the videos, all you have to do is fire off a quick email to us. You can use the little speech bubble on the website, or you can use the contact us. Either one, I will get your message and be happy to answer you as soon as I possibly can. And number 2 goes to... I cannot get over how that wheel is straining today. Cheryl Ball. Don't forget, you've got 2 weeks to send us your shipping information so that you can get your goodies as quickly as possible. You can just use the little speech bubble on the lower right-hand corner of the homepage of the website at tracymoreau.net. Click on that and send us your shipping information so we can get these out to you as quickly as we can.
And last but not least,
And the last one goes to Fiona Harrison. Congratulations, Fiona. So,
I'll get you your chat back in a second. Nope. Shaboom.
where did my chat window go? There it is. Okie dokie.
Still wonky.
It's all wonky. I'll say it's wonky. And I disappeared. There I am. Awesome, everybody. That's great. Ladies, thank you so much. And gentlemen. Sorry, Patrick. Everybody, thank you so much for joining us today. And every Saturday, like you do, we appreciate you so much. Join us next Saturday. We're going to be painting the mate to this one called Parfumerie Aux Fleurs #2, which is with daisies and a slightly different perfume bottle. And we have some more fun techniques for that one as well. In the meantime, everybody that is in the southern part of the States, we are thinking about you and worried about you and watching those storms rip through. Please, please, please stay safe. If you're ordered to evacuate, please do it as quickly as possible. Don't have that many friends that I can afford to lose any. So, please take care of yourselves. To everybody in Southern Ontario, I know that you're looking at getting that mess as well. So the same message for you. Please stay safe. And we will see you here next Saturday, 12 noon Eastern Standard Time. Come and join us either on Facebook or on my YouTube channel. We would love to have you. Look forward to painting with you next week. Mwah. Take care.
And pet your dog.
And pet your dog.